This week we're talking about our favourite worship songs and the programme I've never watched, but only once, because I'm always in work. Songs of Praise.
Boy, I used to make a half-decent living out of them.
What, Songs of Praise? Wait, what?
Hi there and welcome to TGI Monday. This week we've had a great question from Simon, who posted this on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. Simon says he'd like to know which hymn or worship song speaks to each of you most strongly of the Christian journey or calling. Does it inspire you? And if so, how? So, great question. Let's all have a different song. Dan, why don't you start and tell us perhaps what inspires you?
Thank you. I think I'm inspired by a modern worship song by Matt Redman. In fact, I was struggling to find which Matt Redman song I wanted to have. But I went this week for
We'll put links up for Howell and others.
Links
who
to
might
the
not
bottom of
have
the
heard
screen.
it.
I went for Blessed Be Your Name. There's two things
I know that one.
You know that one?
Yeah.
You're going to sing it for us, aren't you?
No.
Thank goodness.
There's two parts of this song I really like. I think firstly, the part I really like is that is this idea that every blessing we get, we give back to God in praise. So we're receiving and yet we're always giving back. And I think that's the nature of our spiritual journeys. In everything that we do, everything we get from God, we're meant to give it back to Him. But the other thing I think is marvellous about it is that there's this aspect of when the darkness closes in, Lord, still I will say, blessed be your name.
That is a good line.
And it's that it goes back to what we said about joy the other week, doesn't it? That even when it's tough, we can still bless God's name in it. And we've seen that, you see that throughout church history. I know I've had dark times in my life, and even in those dark times, I could find that inner joy, but I could still say, well, thank you, God, for being everything that you are to me.
It's very like many of the Psalms, isn't it? Have that sort of aspect of life is really, really difficult and rubbish, but I'm still going to praise God, and that's a great song for picking
Book
that
of
up.
Common Prayer, isn't it?
Well, I expect it probably is. Go on, Hal, why
At
don't you
all
tell
times
us?
and in all seasons, isn't it? Yeah?
Exactly that. Go on, Hal, tell us about your choice.
Oh, well, my choice is from when I was working as a chaplain at Wakefield Prison.
Wow.
And I was there on a placement when I was there. And their favourite song, and they sang it every single service, was And Can It Be?
Fabulous.
Yeah. And they loved the line, my chains fell off, my heart was free. And they loved that. And the best laugh with it was, because it's a Cat A prison, is that some of them, well, one guy was actually handcuffed when he put his hand in the air, which was hilarious. But the thing was, what they said, which is infinitely powerful, is they said that they knew that none of them would be free ever again. Yeah. Because they were in for life. Yeah. But they said that when they sung that hymn, they felt free.
That's amazing.
Wow. So that's the power of worship, really.
That's
that they can feel free in Wakefield Jail. Worship can transfigure their whole situation so they can feel free. And all that they have done, and they've done a lot, all that they had done, those chains were gone. And that I think really it's in Wakefield Jail and places like that you see the power of forgiveness.
Yeah, and that's extraordinary. I mean, it's a very powerful hymn anyway, but in that sort of circumstance.
Especially if they're handcuffed.
Yeah, that's extraordinary, isn't it? Wow.
Nothing tepid about that, is there?
Wow. Well, since we go around the table, I'll talk about mine. So mine is quite an old-fashioned hymn, which I have to say, I don't sing very often. We used to sing it when I was at school, because I went to the kind of school where we sang hymns. But then just once or twice during my life, it's come up in unexpected places, unexpected times, and it's always been something that's really stuck with me. It's, Father, hear the prayer we offer, not for ease that prayer shall be, but for strength that we may ever live our lives courageously. And I think it's a really scary song to sing, really scary prayer to pray, that we're not asking God to give us an easy life, but we're asking Him to give us the strength to cope with life. And the final verse picks up on that as well. It's be my strength in hours of weakness, in our wanderings be my guide, through endeavour, failure, danger, Father, be thou at my side. And I think when I was thinking about this question, that really struck me. That is what the Christian life is. It's not that we're promised an easy life or a good life or, a kind of trivially happy life, but we're promised that God will be with us, and that He will give us the strength and the courage to get through life. So yeah, it's a hymn that I always have to kind of take a deep breath.
Brace yourself.
And brace myself to sing. But I do find it really powerful, and it does reflect for me, at least, a lot of what the Christian life entails.
It's about situation, isn't it? Where you are. I mean, I was thinking of one that's similar to yours, but it fills in with that. That one, there's the ancient version, God be in my head and in my understanding, which is the very easy, cerebral version. But there's a modern Tim Hughes one that says, God in my living, God in my breathing, my working, which is that, our worship and our
Everything
existence,
we do.
everything is throughout the week, not just a special, particular
great.
moments.
Zoe, what about you?
Yeah, I think probably along the following theme. I was a bit like a child in a sweet shop on this one, not able to. And also, I realised that they were all Marmite for me, so I don't. That's okay. I love that one, or I absolutely hate that because.
Yeah.
So I feel quite passionately about music, and then can never remember the name of anything. But I've decided to choose "Make Me a Channel of Your Peace," which can be quite an insipid one, but
Francis.
potentially. But actually, it's about your faith. Should be about what you do as well, because Jesus talked about the fruit of love, and you know where love is by looking at the fruit of it, and so it won't do at all for me to be not loving, not gracious, not thinking beyond my own needs today, and be a believer in that Jesus who does. There definitely needs to be some fruit, and so because I'm quite impatient and can be quite ratty, that just brings it all back to not about me, but about what kind of legacy the love that's given to me should have.
But
Great.
Francis, that is his life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is
Absolutely.
that Francis is the person who knows about sin because he is the man who lived to sin. I love that.
That's very funny.
He lived to sin.
Yeah.
But he's experienced the full spectrum of it all, isn't it? And he understands that basically to live as a Christian person is about who we are deep down inside and who we aspire to be, rather than believing in certain ideas.
Well, that's the bit that makes it interesting for me, because I also think it's quite people who are on the fringe of faith life, or good people who, let's say at a funeral, if we ever choose that at something like a funeral or one of the services where people from outside the church may come along and join in, actually it can start with that, okay, what do I want to be in life, and get drawn, rather than start with belief and then see the outworking that way, actually starting with what's in us already, that, do you know, we were given life to do good, and that's what humans are created for, and for beauty, and for
But also it's interesting, isn't
perpetrate
it,
good
that,
stuff.
that it is a prayer that God would make us that. So actually, I mean, I take
Yeah,
your
well,
point.
did make us that.
Well, but we're asking him, make me a channel of your peace.
Yeah,
Actually, we need God to help
Oh,
us
completely.
fulfill that,
Yeah,
don't
it's
we?
definitely a prayer.
But there's also another level as well. When I was at Spring Harvest, I remember looking around. I think we were singing that song or a very similar song, and I realised that there was about 2,000 of us singing, and we were singing these great things. But it wasn't just all about me as an
No, that's
individual,
the worst
but
bit.
actually we were singing this tough stuff together,
Yeah.
and we were
Yeah, it's a
journeying on it
corporate
together.
thing, yeah.
So when you go to something like Spring Harvest, you find that a lot of things can bubble up. I don't know if you've noticed, a lot of pastoral issues bubble up for people, and it bubbles up through the worship.
Oh, definitely.
And you start to have to unlock, God's unlocking things, and you go out, and then you start to deal with them. And because you're away like that, you have a bit of time to deal with some of these difficult things. And actually, one of the most healing parts of it is the worship and singing worship together.
Yeah.
That blessed be the name of the Lord. In the dark times, you're still with me. When you've got 1,000 people singing
Shared
that around
voice.
you,
Yeah,
it's
it's
very powerful
amazing.
and really healing.
Good.
Sounds like
Well,
a
I
rugby
hope,
match.
I hope that's been interesting for you. As I say, we'll put the links to those different songs with the video. We'd love to hear from you. Perhaps if you'd like to tell us about the Christian hymn or song that's been most influential for you, we'd love to hear about that. But also any other questions or comments that you have, please do get in touch with us. I just want to wave this around and remind you that during Lent, this is the book that the diocese are encouraging us to read, and we're going to be talking about some of the chapters in this in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you for watching. Next time, in the aftermath of Valentine's Day, we'll be talking about what it means to love and be loved.
Oh.
Oh, that's nice.
Next week, we're talking about love.
That was quite good.